Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me this morning on this amazing discussion. We're going to learn how to transcend the ego. And I know we all struggle with our egos every single day. And as spiritual professionals or healers or whatever industry we're in right now, we're feeling all these amazing, intense energies, and we're figuring them out as we go along. And some of us, are having old things resurface for them, and the ego is a big one right now. So thank you for putting in your important mind information and your gifts to use in this discussion. So let's start talking about the ego. What is it? It's basically how we perceive ourselves, how you feel about yourselves. You learn what that means to you when you're a kid. You start with your family members, then you learn from your teachers, then you learn from outside activities. So basically our whole life we're taught how to feel about ourselves and what we're supposed to feel like. And that ego that builds up isn't always positive. And so we do almost have to deprogram and relearn a lot of things. But the ego has many different vibrations, as we all know. Some are higher vibrational, some are lower vibrational. It's like a radio station. I like to use the radio station analysis because it's like an easy, simple one. Arrogance is a lower vibration. Confidence is a higher vibration. So that's the energy that you're putting out. And the energy that you're putting out is the radio station that you're tuning into. And which radio station do you want to tune into? The one that makes you feel bad with lower vibrational egoic behaviors, or the one that makes you feel better and helps you evolve in life and grow and move forward? So that's kind of what we're going to touch upon and talk about today. And we learn all these weird behaviors from all over the place that we need to figure out how to unlearn. And how do we know what it is that we're doing that needs to be unlearned? We need to know how it presents itself to us in our daily lives. There's behavioral thought patterns and behaviors that happen. Like judgment and expectations, that's one of them. Does anybody have any thoughts on judgments and expectations and how that affects our ego, and as professionals even, how that affects our clients and our business and our own personal development? Let's start with you, Karolina.
Okay. Call me Kay. That's good. Well, in fact, there's a lot of scientific study about the judgments we don't realize we have, which is the implicit bias. So whoever shows up on call or in person, because that world still exists, especially when you're a massage therapist.
And I forgot to introduce everybody. I'm sorry. I completely forgot to introduce everybody.
That's okay.
We can do introductions now. Introduce yourself.
Engaged our minds, so we're jumping in.
Yeah.
With thoughts, Yes, I'm a massage therapist, and I do like to gather people and elevate the energy. So any sort of sound healing, guided meditation, tarot cards, or other forms of divination. But I'm definitely all around what is consciousness, how do we tune to higher frequencies, what does it mean, what does it do, and how does the sound play a role in healing. So I'm still researching, I'm still adding tools and skills to my repertoire, but I've been at it for a very long time. So that means I've been looking at myself for a long time, and my resistance and what is stopping me from developing fully as that sort of spiritual assistance to the world.
And that's what we're all doing.
So it's been a long time coming. assisting myself while doing something more pragmatic. You know, if I say, I'm going to do massage for you, that's pretty straightforward. And whatever energies come in, whatever other assistance comes in, I have this slow cooking, you know, time to hone it, to do the consultations as we're doing the massages, the framework. So
and we all have our journeys where we're all learning as we go, and sometimes these judgments and expectations, we catch ourselves in them as well.
Absolutely.
For
all I was trying to say is that it's better to come in with the openness and the kind of healthy assumption that I am going to have judgments. They were maybe put into me because of scripts, because of culture, this and that. But I have them. I have judgments. So let's be open and honest and look at it.
And what do they look like? They look like you telling your client that it has to be done a certain way. You're expecting them. Wait, say that again.
It could be all kinds of things. Yes.
It's all kinds of things.
Open question.
It is a very open question, but a lot of the times there's that little piece of us that forgets that you're on your own journey, you know, that you need to figure it out for yourself, and all we can do is offer possibilities based on the current energies. And so how that affects us as professionals, I think sometimes, is we end up leaving our client feeling a little disempowered or invalidated sometimes, or dismissed sometimes, when we place our expectations onto them, because they are on their own journey, on their own timeline. You're proving that with what you were sharing with us, is that everyone's on their own timeline, and wherever we're at. And so expectations has been popping up a lot, because I think that we're judging ourselves right now. We're very critical of ourselves right now. So are you feeling that too, Diane Alcada from Enchanted Moments?
Am I feeling that I'm critical of myself? Not anymore. No.
Not anymore?
No, I spent a lot of time this year after at the end of 2019, I went through a difficult breakup, and it changed my life. And the biggest lesson that I learned from that was self-love. And I had to, you know, do the work this past year to break those habits. And, you know, it's funny because, you know, when you and I got together a couple of weeks ago to, you know, jot some notes down about this topic, you know, we talked about the spiritual community, and a lot of people go through this awakening, and this year was a big one. You know, a lot of people woke up this year, and, you know, we talk about how some people have this desire to learn, like Kay, you've been doing this for, you know, probably decades. Diane, you've probably been doing it for a long time too. I'm probably one of the younger ones on the group. I'm 40, so I'm still in the transition period of exiting my old life and stepping into my new. And, you know, I've been taking my time with it. And I think a lot of people go through this awakening and they learn all of this wisdom. And for me, I did, you know, go through some courses and link up with different healers and different people. I got my Reiki master certification and all those things. But at some point I broke away from working with other people like us. And I really went within, and I tapped into my own guidance and my own guru. And I really focused on that. And I think that a lot of times people get so excited with the information that they learn, and they're just dying to share it, you know, but they're not done. They're not done themselves, you know, they're not done healing themselves. And we'll pull that ego into what we're trying to teach others, not realizing that we're still evolving and learning, and that never ends. You know, never ends. And it's important to remember that, you know. I think people just jump into it too quickly. And, you know,
sorry for the
and those and judgments start to come out, and you know, we forget that we're probably attracting clients that are showing us what we still need to heal.
Yeah.
So I think
More
it's important,
teachers.
but
What
we're
you
our
were
own
saying
teachers
before about
too.
the knowledge seeking hit home with me, because the individual that introduced me into the spiritual world and into the metaphysical world was exactly what you were talking about, someone who still had to heal within themselves, and coming from that fear-based controlling thought process of the old school way, I guess. There was a lot of fear taught, and that doesn't resonate anymore in this new energy that we have. And so I wonder if a lot of teachers out there too are still kind of stuck on that little hamster wheel of the older way of learning and teaching. The don't do this, don't do that, it has to be done that way or it's not going to be done right. So it's fear-based teaching. So when you're telling your client in one word, in one sentence, that they need to learn to love themselves and be X, Y, and Z, and then actually teaching that same client fear-based things, it's going to be very confusing for them. They may become codependent on you for their only source of information at that point because they're too afraid to check somewhere else, which isn't healthy for their own growth and development.
I've gotten that with clients. Having the shop, people, I would say the past 2 years with the shop opening, a lot of people come in with gifts and abilities or experiences that they've had and not know what it is or what's happening to them. And so as you're guiding them to see that this is a spiritual growth for them, that they're connecting to their gifts and the things that they're experiencing are really happening. It's not crazy. People are telling them crazy or they're being medicated or whatever that might be, to show them that this is a spiritual path for them that, they can explore. They do become more dependent on you, like then they're with you all the time. And I do have other people that I work with, and I say, well, listen to everyone's thoughts and opinions on something. Listen to it all and pick from it what you choose that resonates with you, what makes you feel comfortable. Don't go with one thing, because that's I too, Diane, not you, the other Diane, Diane too, have been on this inner healing journey for the past year myself too, dealing with my shadow self and trying to see not to be have the ego, which is I'm learning different egos that we're connecting ourselves to and realizing that really doesn't serve me any purpose, but wanting to share the new gifts as they're coming in or new experiences with other people without trying to give it out there as an ego. Yeah. If that makes any sense. And how do you do that? Like, how can you want to share with somebody these experiences that you're having, and not in any negative way or anything, just to share that. And what is that? Because you're trying to understand what the heck is happening, Yeah. So how do you share that without having an ego or without, I don't know what even words I'm looking for, but how do you share that with someone without feeling like you're being, well, look at me, Yeah. Yeah. It is a tightrope walk, and it is a matter of us figuring it out as we go. And I think that there's also like a little bit of a sense of competition too, that comes out when we're trying to share new knowledge. Sometimes in the healer community, where you as empaths, we all feel when someone feels threatened by us. So we know when there's a sense of competition going on, and it's one of those things that I think we've all encountered with other professionals. And so I'm trying to describe what it looks like, or an example of something.
I could give an example.
Oh, yay. Thank you, Judith.
Hi, ladies.
Hi, this is Judith from Rock Collage. I did not properly introduce everyone, so we're going to at some point like make real introductions, probably when another member or two pop on.
Hi, ladies. Sorry, I'm nursing. I didn't want to like interrupt or show my. Anywho, a good example of that, Diane Alcada, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned age. I'm actually a little younger than you. And having my own store, I kind of fight with the ageism because older people come in and they're like, how does this young person have, all these gifts, or how can she really be intuitive or whatever? And I've helped so many people in the past 6 years of my journey, and I see the work being done, but I still have that ego where is my age really something that should matter, or whatever. And it kind of brings me down, and it brings certain energies into the shop as well. And sometimes I fight with myself figuring out, am I doing the right thing? Should I stop? Should I consult an elder? Should I bring an elder in to be more reputable? Or like it's a very interesting path or journey, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's judgment in and of itself, like
Yeah.
we judge ourselves because of the age of our physical body, and we forget that we are not the physical body, and our soul is really what matters. It's the energetic part of us that we put forward in our work. And I don't really think it matters how old we are, and that's transcending the ego, right?
Yeah.
It's understanding that journey never ends, and we're always going to encounter the same energies at every level. As we ascend, we will revisit those energies. And Kay, you talked about that just recently. You've been doing this for however many years, and you're still dealing with clients that he didn't come to you, he was referred to you, but there was a reason for that, connection, and I'm sure both of you, maybe not so much him, but I know you definitely probably got something out of it, and that's part of your journey, and you will take that, transcend it, integrate it, and put it out. It's not about losing our ego. Our ego is extremely important. It's who we are.
Thank you for saying that, Diane. It's very true.
And we, and I think a lot of people in our position misconstrue that, and you hear that a lot. Got to lose the ego. No, we don't. We need our ego. It just needs to be healthy and integrated.
We need to learn what it is and how to use it.
And even the negative aspects of our ego are super important, because if it wasn't for us going into that shadow side, we wouldn't have the contrast that we needed to understand, transcend, and then put out the opposite end of that. So like you mentioned, the arrogance and the confidence. If you didn't go through the arrogance, energy and understand it, transcend it, and then learn how to be your own alchemist and turn it into something that can be a positive benefit towards someone else.
Yeah. And that's how we changed the radio station to a happier, more peaceful, more joyful, and we're have a participant. Yay. Okay. I'm waiting for someone else in. Okay. We'll wait till the video comes on. But yeah, that's why it's so important for us to have this discussion, is because that's another key point that is something that a lot of people don't really realize, is how important embracing our ego really is, and understanding that it's there it's not something to be embarrassed about or ashamed about, or, well, I don't do that. It's something to, well, wait a minute. Okay, how did that feel? Did I like that? What do I need to learn from that? I don't like that. Let me move on. So we all have to embrace those parts of ourselves so that we can have what our true self is really meant to have. Yeah, it's really amazing. And is this Keith that just popped in?
Hi, yes it is.
Hi, Keith.
Thank you for
Feel free to
having me, everyone.
You can hop on video if you want to.
I don't have the app installed right now, so I use the
Sure.
dial-in number.
Okay,
Yeah,
whatever works. It's a pleasure to meet you on the phone call. We were just
same to you guys.
identifying the ego. We were talking about all different aspects of the ego: judgment, fear-based controlling teachings, sense of competition. All these things are kind of married to each other within the ego itself, and they're all interconnected in multiple different examples. In the professional environment, as in healing environment, as well as our daily personal lives. I mean, how many of us had a mom who had OCD and you had to fold the towel just right, or it just wasn't done right? I mean, that's another example of of placing your expectations and controlling and that kind of thing.
Can I chip into what Judith was saying? Because I really appreciate the topic of the ageism creeping into spiritual communities, because I feel like this is the topic of expectations, of how there's a general culture will expect life accomplishments in order to present with wisdom, that and not only that, in the 80s and 90s new age movement, we had this kind of cliche archetype that, look at me, I'm so trim and fit and I have a material abundance, so what I do works. And it was just do this affirmation, and you had to present this success. Whereas now we moved into, no, you can be absolutely, the more mess that you are, the more in the process you are. So we kind of swing to the other side. But this expectations of accomplishment, certain age, and then you can advise, and then you can be as wisdom, as opposed to just being a pure channel. And in fact, being a younger person, you may bring in the more hopeful and youthful healing energies, which can be absolutely beneficial and reviving for someone who accumulated a bag of bitterness because of life experiences. It's one thing to saging as you're aging, as Shirley MacLaine put it. But another story is that it's inevitable that you will accumulate so many breakups and so many heartbreaks and moments of loneliness and so on, and that needs to be healed. And often actually the new generations and even the children coming in with their amazing auras of whatever you want to call it, crystal, purple, we're out of words for these kids. They're transcendental, some of them, and come in with just teaching by energy, teaching by presence. And that is very, very important.
And that's something that we're all learning, and sometimes we get stuck on this little hamster wheel because we're still trying to understand that trigger and where it's coming from and all that stuff. And what do we do? How do we fix it? Diane, you asked, well, how do we walk that fine line? And let's talk about that. How do we transcend the ego, which is basically the title of this of this conversation. And we all know that we all have in discussions, our triggers are actually ego-based. And that is basically our outline, our guideline, our arrow pointing, fix this. That's what a trigger is. It's meant to help you change the radio station to a higher frequency. So for a lot of us, I feel like we forget to continue healing our traumas. There is so much programming in us and so many learned behaviors that we have as habits that we don't even realize sometimes. And we forget, or we reach a certain place in our lives where we're just existing and we're comfortable and we're not moving forward because we're okay. So we forget that we still need to grow and heal and continue. So facing our traumas and healing them, processing them, understanding them from a higher, bigger picture perspective, that releasing what doesn't serve us anymore, it gives us the opportunity to make room for what's really in alignment with our true path, our authentic self. The more we heal our trauma, the more authentic we become. So that's definitely number one on my list for how do we transcend the ego, is continue healing, continue healing. I love to preach gratitude and love. Who else loves gratitude and love?
Oh, I do.
Of course.
Where it all
I
begins.
am grateful.
Gratitude.
I am so grateful.
What? Gratitude and love? No, scary stuff. No. Reverse ego.
I think every one of us preaches gratitude as a daily practice. And this is where it gets funky with that line, because we know gratitude works. We really know it works so well. And that's one of those things where it's like, okay, but your client needs to know that that actually works. And how do you put that forward without presenting it in a manner? And there's, for me personally, like you had mentioned before, Diane, from Angel Aura, is you present it to them exactly as you stated before, in a manner that allows them to do their own research and try it out and decide for themselves, instead of
It's planting seeds.
have to do this.
Yeah, I try to just, I don't always follow that rule, but I try to use that rule even with my kids when I need them to do things, is to plant the seed,
Yeah.
and so then it's going to grow to where, so giving them little bits sometimes, rather than obviously not, I never tell anyone what they need to do. I just suggest that this is something that you can do, this is,
Yes.
that's the only way that I try to be that way, rather than allowing myself to say, no, this is what you need to do. That drives me crazy sometimes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is a suggestion, especially when they're coming to us for a healing or a reading or whatever it might be, even just to have a conversation, which I love when people just come in and have conversations, and you know that, Diane.
Yeah.
Just to understand that it's not for me to tell you what you need to do. You need to figure that out, but I can give you some suggestions.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it kind of works that way. I kind of like that.
And that's how we transcend the ego for that particular issue and item, which is a big piece of the ego, because it bleeds onto other things. But the loving ourselves is a big piece, and most of the time we forget to give gratitude to ourselves for how far we've come. For I'm practicing right now. I'm thanking myself for putting myself in this out of my comfort zone and doing this discussion on Zoom that's going to go on Facebook. It's scary, but it's my way of loving myself and giving myself gratitude for actually getting out of my comfort zone and doing this action is something that I will do with myself. And many people forget to do that just in their everyday life. And this, I know the discussion is kind of heavily on the healer world, because we're all healers, so it's what we can discuss, but this is an everyday thing. Just gratitude for the hot water in the shower, that kind of stuff, just very specific gratitudes. And like you said, Diane, all I can do is give suggestions and allow my clients to experience their own journey and figure it out and feel the same joy that I feel in discovering myself, and what works for me. I don't want to take that joy away from them. That's part of their journey. And that's kind of how I look at it in my brain, is what can I do to give them the best journey, or whatever experience with me, but yeah, I mean, healing is a big piece of staying ahead of and transcending our ego. And it is something that we have to do every day of the week. And we naturally do it the more we practice it. And so the key is to keep moving. Yeah. Being consciously aware of the moment is another thing that I think helps transcend the ego. Diane, you're good at staying in the moment. Alcada from Enchanted Moments, you're so good at staying in the moment.
I deal with so many different energies on a daily basis, and I've been doing it for the past 20 years. So half of my life, I have been exposed to massively different types of energies throughout the day. My family owns a restaurant, and I've pretty much been running it for the past 20 years, and we're selling it and almost out. Thank you, God. But it was an amazing experience and lesson that I just recently really learned this past year how much of a blessing it was. And for the past decade or so, I've really been very resentful of it. You know, it was an amazing career to have, you know, financially prosperous. I mean, I'm very grateful for the abundance that it's brought me, but I wasn't doing what I loved.
I met you through your restaurant, so I'm grateful for your restaurant because I met you that way.
I actually, I have a very, very small group of close friends, and quite a few of them came from meeting them right across that counter, just like I met you. But this past year, you know, and you and I have talked about this, you know, when you realize that you want to remove yourself from the traditional work environment and go into a more spiritually based career and helping other people. And for me, it was a huge lesson in learning that I didn't need a crystal shop to do that. And that was my plan. You know, the past few years when I started Life in Tune, and then, you know, I recently switched over to Enchanted Moments and restarted the business, and shifted my my perspective on it and my goal. You know, and then the pandemic happened, and I went from wanting a store, a physical brick and mortar store, to wanting to be more virtual and more online, and, you know, increasing my presence online. And that's why I started doing free readings. You know, every day I post a message, and just this morning's message was about being the magician, the alchemist of our own lives, and taking that clarity that comes with our thoughts and our emotions, and taking the action that we need to take, you know, to fulfill our dreams and desires. Like, that's really, it's about being a conscious creator.
Yeah.
You can't fully step into the power of being a true conscious creator until you know, heal. And you make space, you know, and that's a huge part of transcending. You know, you want to help a client, you want to teach them gratitude and joy, because you know that that's what brings in the abundance. But that's a feeling. Gratitude and joy is a feeling. It's not a thought. It can start
from the heart space.
Right. It can start with a thought, and that's that seed that you plant, you know. But in order to make space for that seed to grow, you need to heal.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, for people in our position, it's really important to help people do those, you know, past life regressions, or even just in this lifetime, you know, go back to what caused the traumas and help them understand how to realize why they went through that, what it's trying to teach them, get them to understand what it taught them, get them to reprogram what it means to them. And then from there, you can start planting those seeds. Now that they did the work to understand and reprogram and relearn, now you can plant your seeds and help them, you know, learn how to water those seeds, and they can do the work to grow them, you know, and then they can grow those seeds and to bear whatever fruit they want.
Yeah. And empowering, I think we're talking a lot about empowering others and collaborating with each other to empower others, that we're all in this together. It's not a competition. Nobody's trying to be better than the next person. We're all just trying to improve ourselves and be the best version of ourselves as we go along, and be the best healer that we can be, so that we can empower the individual to become their own co-creator. Keith, I want to hear your thoughts on how you, or what you do to advise, or how you advise your clients or friends or whoever on healing their traumas, and what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean, my background and path come from a Buddhist nature. In my college days, when I was tuning into my own darkness, my own trauma, if you will, I struggled in the college times to get through my classwork. I struggled to wake up in the morning and eat food. There were some days that I struggled more than I imagined I could struggle in a life. And that experience led me to exploring more of the spiritual side that I thought I was in touch with. I come from a Catholic Christian upbringing. I attended church when I was younger with the entire family. I come from a very large extended family who is very, very active in their faith. But I myself found when I got to college that spirituality was something that I was very immature in. And so when I was on my own, you know, I went to school about 1,500 miles away from everyone I knew. And I was up in Rochester, New York. I'm from San Antonio, Texas. So radically different climate change for me as well. I found myself practicing Zen. So Zazen became a tool for me to explore, I think, what we're defining as the ego here. And so I spent a lot of time in my college years meditating and trying to find peace through the turbulence. And that took a lot of healing, as has been mentioned. And I've found myself now in my late 30s with a family of 3, soon to be a family of 4, and I'm very, very satisfied
Yeah.
with my life that's been lived, and I'm very excited and at peace to see what comes, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
It's a great journey. But I give all that background just to say that it took a tremendous amount of personal work.
Yeah.
Zazen and Zen a lot of times are described as swallowing a flaming hot iron ball. You know, you take this really hot iron ball and you throw it into the fire and you let it get molten, glowing hot, and then you ask someone to swallow that.
Yeah.
And trying to take that down and really get it into you is difficult, and a lot of people struggle swallowing some of that, right? So this kind of imagery of trying to swallow something extremely hot.
Yeah.
But it's the fastest way to light a fire in the belly, right? Down in that root chakra. And it takes a lot of effort, I think, to remain on that path and to keep allowing yourself to go deeper and deeper into yourself, into your ego, and not to be consumed by that. So what I've learned from all of that is something that I think a word that you haven't said, but you've been using it a lot, is effort. You know, you talked about co-creating, and you talked about I forget the exact word that you used, but a lot of it is putting forth effort.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yes, the universe and our existence is nurturing us, but we still have to put in some effort to grow.
For every action,
and
there's an opposite and equal reaction. Yes, we need to put in the work in order to become the conscious co-creator, because without us putting out that energy to determine which ego radio station we want to tune into, you're right, we stay stuck on the hamster wheel. You're absolutely right. It is a continual journey of growth and learning and evolving and shifting and figuring things out and trying pants on, you know, trying things on, you know, as we go.
Well, and I think I've been, sorry, I think I've been fortunate in the fact that Zen won't give you a goal, so to speak. You know, in my practice or in my beliefs, or I don't know what word to use, there isn't there isn't a good or bad or right or wrong or destination, so to speak. Somebody mentioned being in the process, and somebody mentioned, well, the process is what I think gets emphasized for me. And maybe this comes from like Taoism and those roots that Zen Buddhism feeds off of, you know, from its conception. But there's a lot more emphasis in everything is constantly changing, right? And because of that, there's no concrete, identifiable, you know, distinct thing that is you. And again, this is just my personal belief system. But what that really empowers you to find over time, yes, at first it can be a little terrifying in that you're saying that you're not a distinct thing. But in all reality, a lot of this process of transcending the ego is transcending the concept of yourself. And so I think that's beneficial to say, well, there really is no thing that you can point at to say, well, that's you. And if there is, it's probably not here where we can tangibly put our hand on it, right? I wouldn't put my hand on my body and say, well, this is me. I mean, this is part of me, but it's integral to something much more, or something that's not quite expressed by what's here.
Yeah.
And so because of, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Am I talking too long?
I just wanted to acknowledge that you're bringing up very deep points, because we all appreciate the traditions of the free-form meditation, the natural beingness that's in Buddhism,
yes.
It's in Sufism, it's in a mystical, pretty much everywhere you go, there's a mystical branch of that culture, that tradition. In mysticism, there is just pure beingness, experience of what comes through, what is here, without defining, is it you, is it not you, how much of it is you, what do you do with it? And I feel like when we talk about the ego, we're talking about very simple capacity that we have and a need that goes with that. It's you know, akin to food and breathing, that something in us needs to have a goal, identify the role of who's doing the goal, make a plan, and then check it off the list and say, and when we say to the ego, you're going to become, I don't know, a pure devotee of God, you know, of the beloved, or you're going to become the oneness, the ego is absolutely panicked. It doesn't fit. So to give something simple, like you're going to sit on a cushion every day for 10 minutes. Okay, I can do that. So, you know, I'm the person who's playing the crystal bowl, holding the stick. Do not break them. That's the goal. You know, the ego can settle with that and be like, yes, we cannot give our ego abstract goals because it will be sheer anxiety. So to combine these two, the simple goals and the abstract oneness and spirit and ecstasy, that's the mysticism is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, and it all begins and ends with us. And yeah, I think it really all begins and ends with ourselves, and learning to love ourselves is unlearning all those programmed habits, behaviors, trauma responses. Loving ourselves is healing those traumas, is becoming consciously aware, is becoming the conscious co-creator, is being that bigger being, or whatever, that the being that transcends the human ego. So the more we love ourselves and the more gratitude that we show to ourselves and to our environment, I'm grateful for this computer in this Corona period, because I'm connected to the outside world. You know, I think the way to transcend the ego lies amongst all of everything that we're talking about right now. And the key is not to stop, is to continue to grow. And when something irritates you, that's your indicator of what needs work in you. And so and something irritates us all the time. And our ego slips back in. Our ego sneaks back in all the time. You know, I was tired. I had a long day yesterday. I snipped at my fiance and I'm like, oh shit. That was bad. You know, we are human.
Oh no, human.
We're humans, and it sometimes happens. And if we're staying in the moment and being true to our heart and loving ourselves fully, we have to call ourselves out on our own BS, and it's not pleasant.
And that's that flaming hot ball that you're just mentioning that we have to swallow. Sometimes that's what swallowing our own stuff and owning up to it, and not having the expectation on ourselves to always be this, in alignment, spiritually divine being, which we always are, but we need this human side of us to offer the contrast that we need to continue to ascend and evolve.
Yes.
And it's just about remembering that every single day and being conscious in that fact. And, as he was mentioning, and Kay was mentioning too, like that open meditation, to not have an expectation of where the meditation is going to take you, but to just swim around in that being. And
that ocean.
Appreciate it for what it is, and just that's really where that gratitude comes from.
I'm grateful for okay, I was going to introduce everybody, because I totally forgot to introduce everybody, and I want to make sure I do proper introductions. I have Judith from Rock Collage in Teaneck, New Jersey. We have Diane Rivera from Angel Aura Boutique in Pawling, New York. We have Diane from Enchanted Moments, soon to be online. Karolina, you can say where you're from, because I know you work in every direction.
It's Karolina from Hearth Element in Montclair, New Jersey.
Okay. And then Keith, I don't know where you're located right now. Maybe you're in New York now.
No, I'm back in Texas now.
Are you?
Been back in Texas for a while. And I met Diane through Tyler Casey's. I don't know if everyone's familiar with the Facebook
No, they aren't. I should
group
probably invite everyone here into that group, because it's a good group for us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Diane.
No, I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All taking the time out of your day to have this conversation. And it's, for me, getting out of my comfort zone, giving me the opportunity to do that. Judith, thank you for letting me borrow your Zoom. But I think we hit the nail on the head with this. All the egoic behaviors that affect us professionally and personally is the ongoing conscious awareness of them and healing of them and loving ourselves through it all. That's going to help us all transcend the ego and keep going, keep leveling up, and keep moving forward. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Diane.
Thanks for having
Bye.
me. Nice to meet everyone.
Yes, thank you.
Nice to meet everyone.
Thank you. Thank
Pleasure
you.
meeting everyone.